Thank you for watching. My name is Glenn Morgan. Welcome to We the Govern. Today's video is pretty straightforward because it is based on a ton of requests that I've been getting in person and in my email, my comment section all over the state about what can you do to help the Department of Government Efficiency. Of course, DOGE Washington is really what we're trying to focus on here in our state, and because it's making such headlines back in D.C., the question continually comes up, and so I'm going to answer that then today. Essentially, I believe that if you want to make a difference in Washington State, it starts with you, but sometimes people feel like they need a little bit more direction, and so I am going to be putting on training classes, kind of like this, all over the state of Washington, and I will be helping teach people how they can be more effective at helping in the effort to fix government where we live. Now, before I jump into that, I want to make sure that I remind you just to hit the subscribe and the like button. It doesn't cost you anything but a few seconds of your time down below, and share this video with anybody else who you think might be interested in learning how to be an effective part of DOGE Washington moving forward. Now, of course, the big question when it comes to this idea of looking at government to improve it or to identify corruption or to find problems, it really becomes just a question of how you believe government's actually functioning. As many of you who are longtime listeners of my show know, and I brought this up many times, my definition of government bureaucracy is largely a mountain of corruption that's concealed by an ocean of incompetence. One of the hardest things to do if you're looking at government is to actually delineate the line between where the common everyday incompetence that occurs there all the time and total corruption and kickback and fraud actually occurs. It's kind of this very blurry line. And but if you want to get involved in actually exposing it and trying to make a difference, let's talk about what you're going to be learning here in these classes that I'll be putting on for activists just like you all over Washington State. First, I'm going to be basically teaching you how to use a public records law. RCW 4256 is a great statute. It is what you use to actually get information, kind of like the FOIA requests that you would see at the federal level, but this is actually a state level law, and I will help you use that to best efficiency in getting information about the budgets, the contracts, all kinds of information that you can actually get from your local government. And when I'm talking about dealing with reforming or fixing government, this really includes local government like school boards, fire districts, port commissions, also going up to places like your city councils. There's hundreds of cities in Washington State. We have 39 counties, looking at county government as well. And there's lots of opportunity to find things that can be cleaned up or fixed if you're willing to look. Public Records Act is a very powerful tool for that. Also, when you do find bad behavior, I will be teaching you and demonstrating how to actually file ethics complaints against those who are violating Washington State's ethics laws or local ethics laws. And also how to file PDC complaints, which stands for Public Disclosure Commission. Essentially, these are usually, they overlap with ethics laws in some areas, but mostly it's about violating Washington State's campaign finance law, sometimes misusing public resources for political reasons. There's all kinds of opportunities. People are intimidated about this because they've never filed these complaints before. I have. I filed hundreds of them, so I can teach you how to do it as well. Another thing that I'm going to be focused on in these training classes will be how to recruit whistleblowers, especially in local and state government. The more whistleblowers you have, the better you can vet information. It's not a perfect way to collect information, but it's a pretty effective way to narrow your search and focus on issues where you can make the biggest impact. And then, of course, once you uncover something that's significant, that may actually reach the level of fraud or basic public corruption, and certainly a violation of public integrity laws, then I will teach you how to report that to the places that matter and how to try to make a difference with it. And by the way, it isn't all. That's not all. I'm also going to be helping teach people how to organize teams, because you really can't do this stuff as effectively if you're totally a solo operator. You really want to create teams, functional working teams together, 6 to a dozen people at the most, who can actually work together and share records with each other, kind of coordinate on managing public records requests, or sometimes laying out your RICO board, or whatever it is that you're doing to investigate your local community. And understanding that process and at least what we've seen work versus not work in the past, that's going to be pretty helpful for you. Also, just helping people distinguish between corruption and incompetence. Again, that's a blurry line. Incompetence is the default definition of most of what government does, unfortunately. But then trying to distinguish what's your garden variety every day they go to work, their incompetent sort of level of behavior versus total corruption, kickback schemes, nepotism, whatever it is that you uncover. And of course, also how to vet whistleblower info. Just because a whistleblower gives it to you doesn't mean it's right. There's different ways of validating that information, and there'll be just lots of fun things that we can go over here. And most importantly is also how to actually communicate what you actually find in the most effective way possible to your community. This is just some of the basic training that I've done for many years now. I mean, we're going to call it DOGE today, but it's something that I have been doing for a long time. And the more people that are interested in doing this, if DOGE is what makes it cool, then I'm happy to come out and help. Because after all, if they can do it in DC, a place where freedom and liberty goes to die on a regular basis, then you can definitely do it here in Washington State as well. Just because we're the other Washington and we're 3,000 miles away doesn't make us immune to actually fixing problems and addressing these issues where we live. So now the next question that always comes up is, where can I go to get this training? And right now I'm in the process of laying out a variety of these events and locations around the state, and I'm going to keep updating the video description down below as we set each one of these venues, so you'll know where it's located, when it starts, how long it is, things like that. Generally, it'll cost a little bit, but it doesn't cost a lot. So it'll be a nominal amount, usually just to cover some of the costs of putting on the program. But essentially, I believe most of you, if you come to this with the handouts and the training that we do, I think that you're going to actually come away feeling like you've definitely got some value. So again, I just want to remind you, if you're interested in being involved in DOGE Washington, the term that we're going to call it right now, the effort to go out and expose and downsize and fix many of the problems that we have in Washington State, starts with you, it starts with me, it starts with just getting some of the skills, I think, and confidence to go out there and start doing the best that you can where you live. And if they can do it in DC, I think that we can do it here. But it requires you to show up. It requires you to work with others. And again, as I always say, and say in all my videos, it is because the future ultimately belongs to those who show up.